Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Front Row Access Podcast. I am your host, Steven Russo.
Anthony Gonzalez here.
Let's fucking get it. All right, guys. So, it's that time of year. UFC season has ended, and they're on their 3-week break, so that just means I'm going to be depressed for 3 weeks, and then I'll be good. But with the ending of a UFC term comes our award show. So, we're going to be going over all of everything that happened in UFC. We're going to be giving out a couple of awards here, and we're going to be talking about a couple of events for 2025 that have already been confirmed. Some we've already touched on in the past, but I'm just going to give y'all a little bit of a re-up on that shit. But before we get started, I have fight news regarding Conor McGregor. And it's not what you think.
Not running for president?
He's not running for president, although he might in the future.
He's out of legal trouble?
This might get him out of legal trouble, seeming as he is now slated to go into a exhibition boxing match against Logan Paul. Yes, I said Logan Paul, not Jake Paul. Logan Paul, who hasn't fought since he fought Floyd Mayweather back in 2021. And that was that. Actually, no. He fought Dylan Dennis after Mayweather, and then he hasn't fought since then. But that was like 2022. And McGregor has not fought since July of 2021 after breaking a leg against Dustin Poirier. So, yeah. Damn, how are we feeling about a good old Logan Paul versus McGregor?
Off the bat, Logan Paul has done great things for the WWE, raising it to
Factual.
A grander audience as it was dying down a bit.
He is one hell of a wrestler.
And Gregor is Gregor.
Yep.
He can go in anything and it's gonna make money.
Mm-hmm.
Feel like he ducking Chandler on this. But the thing is, it's whenever these athletes do something that they're not training to do and that they don't actually want to have a career in, that gets me. So, hey, let's box.
Like, you're not a boxer. You are an MMA fighter. You're a former MMA champion.
And you're a WWE superstar.
And you're a WWE superstar. Neither of you guys have your heart in boxing at all. I would be less surprised by this news if it was Jake Paul and Conor, because then at least it's a little bit more predictable.
Not to mention Jake called him out after Tyson.
Mm-hmm. And he said, nah, I'm gonna fight your brother.
Well, I think Logan has a broader audience, which sells more.
And both the Paul brothers obviously have their skeletons in their closet, but I think Logan has a bigger fan base than Jake.
Exactly.
So this fight is purely for numbers. It's fucking stupid. But
they're doing the money dance at home.
Yep, but they're gonna be making a shit ton of money off of this bullshit, yo.
Please tell me it's not gonna be streamed on Netflix.
I don't know where it's gonna be yet. If I had those details, I would share them. But as we stand right now, that's it.
Got a question for you.
Yes.
How do you feel about the WWE being moved to Netflix?
I am hoping that Netflix revitalize their servers and it can actually handle live streams.
Because that's going to be live, isn't it?
I'm hoping that the Netflix engineers are in the fucking back and they're just fucking grinding to make sure that their servers can handle the amount of audience that WWE is going to bring in onto Netflix. I mean, yes, Jake Paul and Mike Tyson was a big deal. I honestly think that it might be a bigger deal once Raw goes to Netflix. So, because let's face it, most of the time people just kind of tuned in because it was free, right? But I don't know if they actually gave a fuck about the Tyson and Paul matchup. I didn't. But,
This is interesting on Netflix part to see how well their live servers are going to be in the future.
Yep, so I'm hoping that the Netflix engineers are in the back just fucking grinding, making sure it can, be refurbished, hoping that it can get reinforced so that it can handle the amount of audience that...
Dude, that thing seemed like it was on dial-up.
Yup. That shit looked like it was on dial-up. We watched that fight in like 144p, bro. It was nuts.
72p.
It's 72p, not even 144. We weren't even worthy enough for triple digits. But anyway, I'm hoping that that happens. But the actual like Raw on Netflix card is insane. So, I mean, we got it's Tribal Combat Oos between Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa for the Ulafala, and then we have a women's world title match between Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan, which I think this is where this feud needs to fucking end. It's been going on for way too fucking long. And let's see what else is on that card. We have CM Punk versus Seth Rollins on there, so that's gonna be a good fucking match. And I don't know if Cody has a match on there yet, but he probably will. So he is the WWE champion after all.
What's Cena up
Oh
to?
yeah, Cena's gonna be coming back, guys. That's why I'm wearing the farewell tour for John Cena. Because Raw on Netflix, January 6th, I believe, 2025 is when it's going to be debuting on Netflix. John Cena's going to make his return. I'm expecting the final boss to come back during Raw on Netflix.
The
And
most electrifying man in SmackDown showing up at Raw?
yeah, I think it's going to happen. And I think LA Knight's going to find his way on there. I think they're going to bring out all the fucking stakes for this shit. Might even get a couple of surprise returns from like I don't know, fucking Batista or something. But I'm going into fantasy booking now. But no, I'm excited for the actual episode of Raw. I am apprehensive about how Netflix will handle it. So I am praying and hoping to God, fingers crossed, that the Netflix engineers are working on it. And I mean, it's been a month now over a month now since the Paul and Tyson fight. So I'm hoping that since that fight, they realized what they did wrong and now they're fixing it. So anyway, that's how I'm feeling about Raw on Netflix. I'm excited. And are you excited?
Apprehensive more so. I never was able to really catch Raw. I usually am here for SmackDown though. That's what we do after the podcast when we film it. But it sounds interesting. Sounds like it's gonna be a good time.
Yeah, and plus now you're actually going to be able to watch Raw because you don't need a cable to watch Raw now. You just need Netflix and an internet connection. So
And better than I guess you could still use dial for 72p, but
yeah,
hopefully better than that.
hopefully much better than that. Anyway, on to the FRA MMA awards, guys. We're going to be awarding. We have a couple of categories for you guys today. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 categories for you guys that we're going to be going over today. We have Male Fighter of the Year. We have Female Fighter of the Year. We have Breakout Fighter of the Year. We have KO of the Year. We have Submission of the Year. And we have Fight of the Year. So we're just going to go whole retrospect of UFC in 2024 from 297 to 310. We're going to be covering it all, and we're going to take it all into consideration. So, without further ado, let's get into our first category of the day, Male Fighter of the Year. So, I have a couple of nominees on here. I have Alex Pereira, very active this year, fought 3 times. All the fights that he was in were fucking bangers. So I felt he needed a spot on here. And also, I have Alessandro Pantoja on here. He also had a pretty crazy year. Very active fighter. I think he fought 2 or 3 times this year as well. And I figured, and he's just been on an absolute tear lately, so I have him as Male Fighter of the Year as a nominee. We have Islam Makhachev. I mean, he's the pound for pound #1 fighter in the world right now. He might have only fought once this year, but doesn't matter. He still needs to be on here because he is pound for pound #1 and the best fighter that the UFC has on the roster, regardless of whether or not I actually, like him or not.
We
So
like him, we don't like him defeating our guys.
yes, we like Islam, but we don't like the fact that he beats all of our favorite fighters. So,
So if it wasn't for that ankle pick.
I'm telling you, man, if it wasn't for that fucking ankle pick, my nerves would have been calm. I wouldn't have puked outside the Prudential Center. You know, but fuck it, all right? I have Ilya Taporia on here. Dude, back-to-back wins. Only fought twice this year. I shouldn't say only. That's actually pretty good. He fought 2 times this year, and his back-to-back wins were knockouts over Alexander Volkanovski and Max Holloway. So, I mean, without a doubt, you need to have Ilya Taporia at least nominated on this list. I have Dracus Duplessis, who also had a pretty good year this year, beating Israel Adesanya, arguably the second best middleweight of all time. and also beating Sean Strickland in a razor close fight and an absolute banger of a fight, which we'll talk about later. And then I also have just Max Holloway on here as well. I mean, sure, he lost the last fight, but he is the definition of a warrior, man. He's lived by the sword, died by the sword. And of course, we can't forget his moment at UFC 300 that I don't think anybody in the MMA world's gonna fucking forget. So, those are the nominees. Ant, who's your fighter of the year? Your male fighter of the year? I know it's tough. There's some heavy hitters on this shit.
I've got it down to two.
It's got it down to two. What's it gonna be? I know it's so fucking hard.
I'm gonna give it to Ilya Taporia. Yeah.
All right, Anthony, the FRA MMA award for male fighter of the year goes to Ilya Topuria. And let me tell you guys, I'm the same way. I also think that Ilya Taporia is male fighter of the year. So, way to go, Ilya Taporia, for beating my favorite fighters and absolutely putting a stamp on the UFC and letting everybody know that you're fucking here, man. Let's just talk about this Ilya Taporia, bro. Back-to-back knockouts over Volk and Holloway. I mean, Alex Pereira had a great year. He would be my winner if he didn't knock out Max Holloway and Volkanovski. So I mean, both guys we love. We're big fans, both of them. But honestly, Ilya Taporia is just
And I
so.
swear to God, guys, we do have a Max Holloway spot.
It's there. It's
We
somewhere.
have it. We like these guys. Just like Folk got one. We like them.
We love these guys, but I'm just telling you, man.
And then Ilya just comes, just
And
seemingly
just,
out of nowhere. Doesn't
dude.
have to go by Holloway for his title shot.
And then ends up beating
then,
Holloway on the
woo!
backside. So I mean, oh, bro, let me tell you something. In both fights, Ilya wasn't looking too good at the end of like the first round. Like he was getting beat on, but then he's got that deadly power, man. He's so damn talented. I fucking love Ilya Taporia, but I also fucking hate Ilya Taporia all at the same time. But the guy is so damn talented. And I mean, I know he's 145 champion right now, reigning, defending, has arguably the two best fucking wins at featherweight right now. And I know he's thinking about vacating that belt and moving up to 155, which I respect for not holding up a division. Thanks for not pulling a McGregor. So, I don't know if that's what's going to happen. I'm excited to see what happens with Ilya Taporia. Regardless of personal feelings, I'm a pretty big fan of Ilya Taporia. I'm going to be honest. So, I mean,
I'll say I was definitely won over to be a fan of his. I don't like him better than Volk or Holloway, but I don't dislike the guy.
like he's he just lets his fighting do the talking, man. So he does the talking too. Like trust me, he talks the talk, but then he gets in the octagon, and he fucking walks the walk. So and this guy, he's so well rounded. Honestly, the only person that I could see him like comparatively to, like pound for pound, or Makachev and Pantoja. Honestly, just how well rounded he is and how well versed he is in both the striking and the grappling. Let's not forget, guys, Ilya Taporia is a fucking jujitsu guy. Like that is his base. He is a jujitsu, but he just developed crazy boxing and extreme power. So I mean, Ilya Taporia, man, he gets the fucking thing. Let's one more round of applause for fucking Ilya Taporia for breaking our fucking hearts this year and being super talented in the fucking process. So yeah, that's our male fighter of the year.
My
Both of
heart
us.
will go on is playing in my head
Yep.
right now.
Both myself and Anthony have agreed comparatively to give Ilya Taporia the male fighter of the year. Anyway, so female fighter of the year. Obviously, can't leave out the ladies, right? Can't leave them out, right? That
They'll
we had.
kick our ass if we
They
do.
will kick our ass if we leave them out.
Any
So-
one of them.
Any one of them. So here are our nominees for female fighter of the year in UFC 2024. Zhang Weili. Weili Zhang. Whatever you want to say. I mean, the girl had a fucking tremendous year. I mean, she is probably, her and Valentina Shevchenko, probably the two best girls on the roster right now. And I gotta just say, I mean, she had a fucking war against uh Yan Xiaonan. I think she had one other. Did she have one other fight this year? Whaley? I'm checking.
If so, it would have been the earlier months.
Well, I mean, I know she had that fight against Zhao Nan on UFC 300, and that was a fucking war, by the way. I love that fight. Um, let's see. I'm trying to. Yeah, we're going off the script a little bit right now. Not that there really is a script, but it's a fucking podcast. So I'm trying to find Weili Zhang's fucking. Oh, here it is. Continue to the site. Yeah, no.
Meanwhile, Pepsi, hit us up.
Meanwhile, Pepsi hit us up, frontrowaccess15@gmail.com.
Prime, we got you here too.
Logan Paul, KSI. I know you got that money.
KSI, we might not care for
Your music,
in
but
the thick of it, but
we like your drink
we like
though.
your drink.
Your drink's pretty good, but fuck your lunchly though.
That's why I said drink specifically.
Yeah, we like your
moldy
drink.
cheese here.
No moldy cheese for us. But no, she did not have another fight this year. But still, figured I should give Weili Zhang just because she had that war with Yan Zhaonan on 300. I felt like she had to be mentioned on here. Plus, she's like her and I already mentioned Shevchenko are like the 1 and 2 of the fucking women's division right now. I also have Kayla Harrison on here. Yo, she had a pretty good year. She's on a 2-fight winning streak right now. I think both came by finish, 1 knockout, 1 submission. So I mean, she submitted Holly Holm, and then I forget who she fought in her last fight, but she beat that person too. So I figured I'd give Kayla Harrison a little bit of an olive branch. Like, hey, welcome to the UFC. We're happy to have you. And thanks for bringing some fucking light to the bantamweight division, because goddamn it, that division's been struggling since Amanda Nunes left. So, definitely had to put Kayla Harrison on here. But also, I have the former bantamweight champion on here, Raquel Pennington. She fought twice this year, and obviously she lost that close decision. Actually, got robbed against Juliana Pena. So Juliana Pena is the new bantamweight champion, but Raquel Pennington had a pretty good year. She had a couple of good fights, defended, won the belt, defended her belt, and then lost the belt. So I mean, fair.
It happens.
It happens. I also, but I figured I'd at least put one of the Penningtons on here. I'm sorry, Tisha Pennington. I love you, but you didn't really have.
Yeah, you weren't really a shining example.
Yeah, you weren't really a shining.
Women's MMA this year.
Nah, you didn't do too good. But maybe next year, But let's see, Manon Fiorot.
You know that if she finds out, she's gonna kick our ass. Right?
Yeah, and the problem is, I'm about I don't know if Joe's still friends with him or not, but I'm about 2 degrees of separation from her. So that's a little, because I have my friend who's friends with Tisha Pennington's cousin. So I'm like 2 degrees of separation from Tisha Pennington. So that's insane. But small world, I guess.
Hopefully she won't see this.
I'm like 2 degrees of separation from her. She's gonna come and kick my ass.
If Joe shares this specific podcast with that cousin he's friends with, we might be screwed.
Mm-hmm. But anyway, we don't have to worry about that right now. I still love you, Tisha. But I put Manon Fiorot on here. I mean, flyweight contender. She beat Erin Blanchfield this year. I think she even beat Rose. So I mean, I had to put Manon on here. She's been making some fucking waves at 125, and I think she is the rightful number 1 contender to go after Valentina Shevchenko, who is the current champion in that division. And speaking of Valentina Shevchenko, our next one is Valentina Shevchenko. So 2 years in a row, she got nominated for Women's Fighter of the Year. I nominated her last year and this year. She's been on fire. Like, I mean, she had that crazy boring fight with Alexa Grasso at the Sphere. But, she still came out on top, and, she's also just Valentina Shevchenko, bro. How can you just say no to her? I probably will get my ass kicked if I try to. So, I put Valentina on here just because she got her belt back, proving that even though she is a little bit older, she's been at it for a little while, she could still beat the young people, and she's still here to stay. And I also put Mackenzie Dern on here. She was just really active this year. She fought, I think, 3 times. And
we love our active fighters.
And she fought like 3 times, and I think she won 2 of those 3. So positive record going out of 2024 into 2025. So I figured I'd put Mackenzie Dern on here as well. So without further ado, and who's the FRA going to?
For me, I'm giving it to Wei Li Zhang because that war.
Because of that war. So we have.
That's going to be a standout fight for me
Yep.
that I'm going to point people to.
Yep, and I'm right there with you, homie. Wei Li Zhang, our female fighter of the year. I think that's 2 years. No, this is her first time winning. I nominated her last year, but she didn't end up winning. You gave it to last year, Amanda Nunes, and I think I gave it to Alexa Grasso. So Wei Li Zhang, congratulations. Let's get a round of applause for Wei Li Zhang for being just an absolute menace at 115 pounds. And I'm looking forward to the day that you move up to 125 and we get the dream fight of you versus Valentina Shevchenko. I really want to see that fight. I'm like foaming at the mouth, wanting to see that fight. I'm like, give me it. These are like the two most badass women. They're both in their prime right now. So I'm like, come on, please. Now's as good a time as ever. Wei Li Zhang has basically cleared out strawweight. Move her up. And move her up. Maybe she can test her luck against Valentina. But that's it, guys. So one more last round of applause for Wei Li Zhang. Thank you very much for being who you are and going through some absolute fucking wars. Anyway, breakout fighter of the year. There's a couple nominees for this one. Because I'm going to say one thing about the year 2024. When it comes to UFC, the winds of change have been felt, and we are starting to see this budding new generation of fighters. So I got to say 2024 was a big developmental year for the UFC and making some new stars, And that's why this fucking award is so hotly contested, because there are so many people that the UFC is building up very well right now that could easily blossom in the next 5, 6 years or so. 4 or 5 years, not even 6. We're already starting to see it, and I'm excited to see what happens. So I have Diego Lopez on here. I figured he at least needs to get mentioned. I mean, that last minute fight against Dan Ige on 3 hours notice. Bro had to weigh in twice and absolutely went out there, had a war. He had a great performance at UFC 300, big knockout. And then of course he had that war with Dan Ige, and then he just beat Brian Ortega at the Sphere back in September. So Diego Lopez has had one hell of a fucking year. He has been climbing up them featherweight rankings, and I am so excited to see what's next for Diego Lopez in his future UFC career. I'm very anxious to see what he's all about. Next up, Peyton Talbot. Peyton Talbot has been absolutely insane this year, getting finishes left and right. Ever since this dude made his debut in the UFC, he's just been knocking people out. So, I mean, he debuted last year off the Contender Series. I think he had 2 fights this year, and he's one of my most intriguing prospects in the UFC right now. And let me tell you something about this Peyton Talbot, man. He's got a bright future. He's already starting to call out like the top names in bantamweight. Yes, a little ambitious and a little early, but hey, man, gotta play the villain. Gotta start opening some potential doorways for yourself to walk through. Because I mean, Peyton Talbot's gonna make some fucking steam.
Waves.
He's gonna make some fucking waves in 135 in the near future. I also have MVP on here. He made his UFC debut. He might have only won once, but he's still one of the most. He was one of the most sought after free agents. UFC picked him up, put him in a debut against Kevin Holland. He beats Kevin Holland, and he has a fight with Ian Gary. Unfortunately, loses to Ian Gary, but I figured I'd at least give MVP a little bit of a nod here because he made his debut, and he's a big name, and I'm excited to see with the remainder of his career because he's a little bit older. With the remainder of his career, what he does at in UFC. So excited to see what happens. So I figured I'd put him on here at least. All right, next up, Kyle Baralho. I mean, this dude just finished Jared Cannonier, dude. So I mean, this dude has finished Jared Cannonier and Paul Craig. So I mean, he's gotten some pretty solid names under his belt. He made it to the top 5 of middleweight this year, and I think maybe this time next year, he's probably gonna get a title shot. So I mean, Kyle Baralho, a part of the Fighting Nerds. He's got that free spirit neck tattoo. You know, it's so ugly, but it's his
Yeah.
calling card, I guess. But I figured I'd at least give Kyle Baralho his fucking flowers here to let him
Because he
know.
couldn't forget that tattoo.
Yeah, I just wish he didn't get that tattoo. But I mean, he comes from a great gym. He's had some great fights, some big names that he's beat this year. So shout out to you, Kaio. I also put Kayla Harrison on here. She's a two-time nominee as breakout fighter. I mean, she made some fucking waves in bantamweight today, and I mean, obviously made her debut at 300. Came back a few months later, got another win under her belt. She's probably gonna get a title shot in the near future because she's also towards the end of her career. She most of her time in PFL. You know, judo Olympian, gold medalist when it comes to that bullshit. So, I mean, she's definitely credentialed. I'm excited to see what she does. And yeah, that I figured I'd. So, Kayla Harrison, you're pretty popular this year, man. You've gotten 2 nominations so far. Also, Steve Urseg. I mean, this dude came out of fucking left field. Everybody was like, who the fuck is this guy? Myself included. And I did some deep diving. And I was like, damn, this dude's actually like kind of cool. And then obviously he went out there against Pantoja at UFC 301, had a fucking war with him, brought the champ to his limit as a ranked number 10. You know, I mean, dude had no business fighting for a title, but when you have a champion and a division that isn't that deep, you know, I mean, flyweight isn't that deep right now, and Pantoja's beaten mostly everybody at flyweight and a couple people multiple times over, i.e. Brandon Royval, i.e. Brandon Moreno. So, I mean, even Kai Kara France, he beat him twice. But, you know, when you get that title shot and you have all the lights on you, you're in a pay-per-view main event, and boy, he delivered. He was doing well. He brought the champ to his limit, but he made a big mistake going for that takedown in the 5th round. And I think if he didn't go for that takedown in the 5th round, he probably would be the champion right now. So I mean, dude had a crazy year. Obviously, in his last fight back in on the Dracus Duplessis and Adesanya card, he got knocked out by Kai Kara France. But that was a very hungry Kai Kara France that's coming off of a solid fucking robbery from last year. So I mean, I think the plot just wasn't in your favor. So I had to put Steve Urseg on here though, and at least give some acknowledgement to him for making that kind of a splash. Also, I had Carlos Prats on here. Carlos Prates, I mean, he just beat Neil Magny in the Fight Night main event, and he's also um, gotten 3 finishes this entire year, and he's looking pretty good from the Contender Series. So I mean, I had to put Carlos Prates on here. I don't know if it's Prats or Prates. So we'll just leave it at that. I have Leron Murphy on here, one of the more intriguing prospects at featherweight right now. Pretty well rounded, pretty well versed kickboxer, and can hold his own on the ground. So I mean, I see shades of Leon Edwards with him. So I mean, Leron Murphy, he's on a pretty big winning streak right now. I think he's on a 6-fight winning streak currently. So I think he's coming to a top 10 near you in the near future, maybe even a top 5 near you in 2025. So, Leroy Murphy, congratulations. You made the nominations. And also, I have Verna Jandaroba. She just took a former title challenger in Amanda Lemos, who was looking pretty legit. She had just come off of a big win after getting absolutely annihilated by Weili Zhang. Lemos got annihilated by Zhang, came back and won. Then she fought Jandaroba and got absolutely fucking finished. Jandaroba extended her winning streak to I think 5 fights now, so I think she's probably close to a title shot at 125. No, 115. So I figured I'd at least put her on here. Excellent jiu-jitsu. She's got some pretty solid striking too, so I figured I'd put her on here. And I also have Shara Bullet Magomedov. Dude's blind in one eye and kicks like a mule. Brought the Obviously Dagestan's known for their wrestling, but he's the one that brings the kickbox into it. And he also had that crazy knockout, that double back fist back at the UFC 308 with Holloway and Topuria in Abu Dhabi. So those are the nominees for Breakout Fighter of the Year, and why I think they should at least be nominated. There's a lot of motherfuckers on this list, but all of them deserve their flowers. So, Ant, you know the drill, my friend. Who's your breakout fighter of the year? Lots to choose from.
Yeah, this one I've narrowed down to 3 I like. I'm just trying to narrow it down from those.
Go right ahead. Yeah, But all these people, they made some waves in UFC this year, and I'm looking forward to see what their future holds, what it entails for them, and I think we're seeing some next up title contenders, if not future champions. We don't know, but I believe Ilya Taporia won this topic last year, and now he's male fighter of the year. So, I'm not trying to say that we're pretty credentialed here, but we kind of are.
We like to think that we are.
Yes. So yeah, I mean, I gave my breakout fighter of the year to Ilya Taporia last year, and now he's our male fighter of the year.
So for this one, I'm going to go with Werner Jandaroba.
You're gonna go with Verna Jandaroba.
Yes.
Why so? That's a unique one.
Well, for me, it's more so the fact of, as a breakout fighter, how well they're doing to put themselves further. Because the way I see it, maybe not women's fight of the year next year, like women's fighter of the year,
Mhm.
but the year after that, I'm seeing some good moves from her.
Yeah, I mean, she's legit. I mean, she's facing up some against some elite gals, and she's performing pretty well. So she's got a big winning streak going for herself. She hasn't lost in a few years. So I'm like, yeah, let's see what happens next for her. But my breakout fighter of the year is gonna go to Diego Lopez. I fucking love the dude, and I am so excited to see what he does at featherweight in the future. And plus, when you beat one of my guys in Brian
Absolutely.
Ortega, I'm gonna start to respect you a little bit. So, my breakout fighter of the year is gonna go to Diego Lopez. So let's get a round of applause for Jandaroba. Congratulations, you got the award from Anthony. And then we'll get a round of applause for Diego Lopez. You got it from me. You got the seal of approval from me. So
The other two were him and Steve Urseg.
Urseg would have been a valid choice. I almost chose Urseg.
It was those three that stood out to me the most from this list.
Yep.
I'm anxious to see them next year.
I mean, Steve Urseg, yeah, sure, he's coming off of a loss, but his stock's not going to drop a cent, man. He still has that performance against the current champion who's just been mogging on people lately. So, I mean, Steve Urseg, I'm excited for him as well. All right, guys. This is my favorite one of all time. But before we go into the nominees for Knockout of the Year, I'm going to give a honorable mention to one knockout that didn't quite make the list, but I felt still needed to be acknowledged. Shi Ming's head kick knockout over Fang Xiaikon that nearly killed her. Back at the back on the Figueiredo and Piotr Jan fight night card. That was at like 6 in the fucking morning. So I mean, 6 in the morning. That fight night was absolutely insane, and that head kick was a big highlight of it. She nearly killed that poor woman. So I figured just because someone almost died, I had to
Stretcher.
we had to go out on a stretcher. Couldn't even leave the octagon on her own. Jesus. I mean, all the best to Fang Zycon, but goddamn, like that was a crazy knockout, and I figured I'd at least give an honorable mention to it because although you're not making the list, I gotta acknowledge it, you know. So because I don't think I'm just gonna let that go over my head. Like it didn't just fucking happen. But anyway, on to the nominees. I have Shara Magomedov's double fucking spinning back fist knockout over Armin Petrosian as the first nominee, just because of how unique it was and how well he executed it. I could tell the dude has been drilling that fucking thing 1,000 times. So when he was able to land it in the octagon as well as he did, I'm like, that's just fucking impressive. Plus, I figured I'd at least get one of Shara's knockouts on this one because the dude is just insane. So I also have this one's a no-brainer. Max Holloway's last buzzer beater knockout, last minute, last second buzzer beater knockout over Justin Gaethje in a fight that he was winning. Didn't even need to go swinging against Justin Gaethje, and he still decided, let's go right here in the center. We're gonna swing for the fences, and then he fucking knocked him out. I'm like, on UFC 300, that was like the perfect like stamp on UFC 300. That's what it's forever going to be remembered with. Also, Pereira's fucking shoves Herb Dean away and fucking left hooks the dude. But
It was funny because they just brought that up in the last fight night.
yeah. So the second nominee, Max Holloway versus Justin Gaethje at UFC 300. Max Holloway's buzzer beater KO. Next up, I have Alex Pereira's switch head kick knockout over Yuri Prohaska back in International Fight Week. When obviously dude stepped in on last minute, McGregor pulled out with a little broken toe, robbed us of a McGregor main event, and fucked Chandler royally. So the poor guy. But then Alex Pereira and Prohaska 2 happened, and after Prohaska just had put the fucking piss beating on Alexander Rakic at 300. And then Alex Pereira just a beautiful switch kick to the fucking face. Put Prohaska on his ass. Dude couldn't even stand up straight afterwards. So I mean, I had to at least get one of Poetan's knockouts on this list because the dude had a fucking hell of a year. Next up, guys, Ilya Toporia's knockout over Volkanovski at UFC 298. I mean, you just toppled the greatest mountain that no featherweight has been able to topple for the past 5, 6 years, and you just fucking ended my dude's fucking reign with a beautiful right hook knockout, put him on his ass, became the new champion, and for the second time in a matter of 3 months, we saw Volk go on his ass and go to bed. So that was very sad, but I think it was a beautiful knockout, and it needed to be mentioned. So, also, Ilya Toporia's left hook knockout over Max Holloway. Dude was the one. Dude was the one that cracked the uncrackable chin of Max Holloway. And Max Holloway been tested so many times, that chin. Volkanovski, Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje. He ate shots from all of them and did not go down. Arnold Allen, fucking Korean zombie, just eating shots. Everybody pretty much thought it was impossible to knock out Max Holloway, and guess what, guys? Ilya Topuria knocked out Max Holloway. So the fact that it was the first time in his entire career, because fucking Holloway's been at this shit since 2013, in his 11-year career, never been knocked out. It was Ilya Topuria to do it. So just because of that, I had to mention it. Also on this list will be Poirier's right hook knockout over Benoit Saint-Denis. Bro sent that dude flying with that shit. And that's not the first time we've seen somebody go flying because of a Dustin right hook. We saw Conor McGregor go flying. We saw a couple of other notable contenders go flying with that right hook from Dustin Poirier. And it was just extremely awesome to see Poirier get that awesome knockout on that night of the Gilly. The night of the Gilly! Didn't get the Gilly, but got the knockout. So, just because of how beautiful that he set it up with the uppercut, that left uppercut wobbled him, and then that right hook finished the job, sent dude flying the other direction. Poor Benoit Saint-Denis. Oh, he was looking so good. Now he's on a 2-fight losing streak. Oh, Jesus. But I figured I'd at least mention Poirier's beautiful knockout over Benoit Saint-Denis. And last, but certainly not least, the knockout that closed out UFC 300. Alex Pereira's left hook knockout over Jamal Sweet Dreams Hill. So, Jamal Hill got some sweet dreams that day. So, those are the nominees for Knockout of the Year. Anthony, who's the FRA going to? I think I know what it is.
Right here.
Right now! Max Holloway and Justin Gaethje, buzzer beater KO, gets the FRA award from not only Anthony, but myself. Okay. I love watching all these knockouts happen, except for maybe the 2 that Ilya Topuria did. But, god damn it.
Yeah, I was going to say, I would have loved to give more credit to Ilya there. But because I can take 2 things away from that, like, you said it yourself with Holloway. 11 years it took to crack his chin. Eventually, these guys get older.
Yep.
And with Volk, a 3-month turnaround from another.
For another knockout.
It's just, I feel like fighters should only fight 6 months after, minimum 4, before they try going crazy.
After following a knockout. Yeah, I think it's the same, but god damn it. You just can't fucking beat Max Holloway going like this in a fight that he was fucking winning 4 rounds to 1. And then this dude points to the center of the octagon, says, "Stand right here. We're gonna swing for the fences. This UFC 300, baby. One of us is going to sleep."
Stamp on it.
And then 1 second remaining in the whole fight. Big overhand right. Put Gaethje face first into the canvas. I've never seen Gaethje get flatlined like that ever. And the fact that it was by Max Holloway in a fight where he was doubted as shit, even by myself, I predicted against Max Holloway in that fight. Last time I ever do that shit.
Don't understand why.
I thought Gaethje was gonna fucking crack him, but I thought he would struggle at the weight. Clearly, he didn't, and now he has
Dude,
one.
all he did was include fucking ramen
Yep.
in his meal. That's all.
So I'm just saying, man. If your knockout of the year isn't Max Holloway versus Justin Gaethje, I'd like to know your reasoning.
Yes. Comments.
I'd like to know your reasoning because this is easily knockout of the year and probably knockout of the fucking decade at this point because of how iconic it's gonna go down. No UFC fan is gonna forget that knockout. So I mean, one last round of applause for Max plus Holloway. Flatlining Justin Gaethje. I've never seen Gaethje go face first into the canvas like that ever. And this
Dude,
dude's
it's still playing in my head right now, over and over.
Yup, it's just such a fucking beautiful knockout. So obviously, Max Holloway, congratulations, you got our knockout of the year. I think our knockout of the year last year went to Israel Adesanya after when he knocked out Pereira. So that was definitely a good knockout. But this one, man, shit, dude, shit, that shit was insane. Anyway, moving on to my second favorite of all of them, submission of the year. Obviously, jiu-jitsu is the backbone of the UFC. Royce Gracie showed us at UFC 1 that you don't need to be this big, strong guy in order to be successful in a fight. He used his jiu-jitsu, submitted the bigger man, you know? So, obviously, submissions have a big backbone in the UFC. Jiu-jitsu in general has a big backbone in the UFC. So, obviously, submission of the year is very, very important. So, here are the nominees. Alrighty, actually, one honorable mention before I go into it, and because I mean this woman's just getting all the fucking praise. Kayla Harrison's submission over Holly Holm in her debut. Honorable mention. I didn't think to put it on the nominees list, but I figured it should at least be mentioned. So yes, that is our honorable mention. Now on to the nominees. This was a big one for the first one. Dracus du Plessis' rear naked choke submission of Israel Adesanya back at UFC 305. So, guys, I don't think you need me to tell you more. I mean, Dracus du Plessis is the first man to submit Israel Adesanya in his illustrious UFC career. So, the fact that, I mean, Israel Adesanya made his debut in the UFC in 2018. In 6 fucking years, he had not been submitted once. Fucking Dracus du Plessis submitting Israel Adesanya in a fight that Dracus was fucking losing. Dude was getting his ass beat, getting walked down by Izzy, but Izzy made one big mistake on the ground, and that's all it fucking took. And then Dracus du Plessis capitalized, and then, he did the tap out. So, Dracus du Plessis' submission over Israel Adesanya, and the fact that he was the first person to submit Israel Adesanya is also worth mentioning here. Next up on the list, and you and I were there for it, and a fucking war between Dustin Poirier and Islam Makhachev, out of his fucking ass, midway through round 5, in a fight that Poirier was winning. I shouldn't say solidly winning. He was winning that round. We had for winning. And on the judges' scorecards, it was two rounds to 2 going into that 5th. So, and Dustin was winning that 5th round, man. But then Islam Makhachev, being the dog that he fucking is,
Got an ankle pick.
Took down Dustin Poirier. And in a fight, after both men are covered in blood, they're all sweaty. It's the end of the fight. It's wet. Usually when the bodies are wet, it's harder to get the submissions, you know? Islam Makhachev found a way to finish Dustin Poirier with a beautiful Darce choke. And I gotta say it. I mean, as much as it hurts my ego to say it, but it was a beautiful Darce choke from Islam Makhachev. And yep. So I figured Makhachev's Darce choke submission after a fucking war with Dustin Poirier was worth mentioning. The fact that he was able to find that in a fight and that deep into a fight that was hotly contested.
I feel like I like that other dark stroke better.
So next one up is Pantoja versus Asakura. This is recent. I mean, Kai Asakura goes into the UFC, all this massive hype behind him. But guess what, guy? We knew it. Him and I both said it. We knew it. Alessandro Pantoja, rear naked choke finish over Kai Asakura, solidifying himself as the flyweight fucking champion. And saying, this is the UFC, brother. You might have been great in Pride, and no, not Pride. Ryzen. Pride died years ago. You might have been great in Ryzen. This is the UFC. You're facing me. And I'm on fire right now. I'm in my fucking prime. And he submits Kai Asakura. Now, I'm not saying that Kai Asakura doesn't have a bright future ahead of him. He does. In the flyweight division, he gets some much needed attention to that dying division. So, definitely worth mentioning Pantoja and Asakura's, that lovely little thing there. Also, we have Chimaev versus Whitaker. Fucking Chimaev snapping the jaw of Robert Whitaker, sending his bottom row of teeth into the back of his fucking throat. It was brutal. It was a panic tap from Robert Whitaker, so I could just tell that man was just probably in absolutely fucking excruciating pain when that happened. But it was just a beautiful finish. At 12 seconds into the fight, fucking here comes Hamzat with the shoot. He gets that takedown. It doesn't even get it under the neck. He just snaps Robert Whitaker's jaw and sends him back to the fucking bleachers. So, your number one contender at middleweight, if it wasn't for Sean Strickland, Hamzat Chimaev gets this nomination just for the pure destruction that he put on Robert Whitaker. And that's saying something coming from your boy.
We really do like Whitaker.
I fucking love Whitaker. But next up, Paddy Pimblett's triangle choke submission over King Green. I feel like that's just worth mentioning.
You just hate King Green.
Yeah. No, but here's the thing. That ground game was impressive from Pimblett. I will tell. I mean, King Green was still a dumbass for shooting on the jiu-jitsu guy. I mean, fucking Paddy hops Gilly, fails at the Gilly, gets a triangle choke, puts Bobby Green to sleep, or King Green to sleep, whatever the fuck you want to fucking call him. Fuck that guy. But also fuck
yes,
Paddy. So
let your hatred consume you.
Okay, Palpatine. Also, Brian Ortega versus Yair Rodriguez. Brian Ortega was getting his ass handed to him. And guess what? He found a way to submit the former interim champion with a fucking triangle choke. I think it was a signature move, too. So, I mean, Brian Ortega has the heart of a champion, man. And hell on wheels, bro. That shit was a crazy submission. And what was that? I didn't write it on here, but you reminded me of that other Darce choke that happened just on a fight night recently.
Yeah, that was fucking great.
Who fucking did that? I need to know. Because I didn't even think about that when I was making the fucking nominations. So I gotta know, like, what the fuck is up with that shit, bro. Because that was a beautiful submission. It was. It was a beautiful submission. So I'm gonna try to fucking find it now. Hold on. I'm on the UFC's website right now. Was it on 310?
Is that on the fight night before?
Alright, I'm gonna check 310. Fuck. Was it on the prelims? I forget. Oh no, was it Luque?
Yeah.
It was Luque? Because it was always Vicente Luque by Darce choke. I should have bet on that fight, man. I fucking called it, too. I was sitting there on the couch. I'm like, I'm just going to say it. It's always this way. Vicente Luque by Darce choke. And it was Vicente Luque by Darce choke. Dude, I should have bet. I said round 1, too. Dude, I would have made mad money off that shit.
You know what they call it, like an anaconda choke?
I mean, it's tough to decipher the difference between the two of them. The anaconda choke goes around the neck and then locks up under the arm. The Darce choke goes under the arm and locks up at the neck. So, and they look very similar. Usually, if a fighter rolls and has your head like this, that's an anaconda choke. That's what kind of makes the anaconda choke the roll. hence the anaconda. So, and then a Darce choke kind of is just when you're flipping somebody on their side. Like if this is my opponent, I'm like this over him, like my chest is over his neck. But that's a Darce choke. But nah, I figured that should get another honorable mention right there with Kayla Harrison's submission over Holly Holm. But yeah, those are the submission of the year nominees: Dracus Duplessis over Adesanya, Makachev over Poirier, Pantoja over Asakura, Chimaev over Whitaker, Pimblett over Green, and Ortega over Rodriguez. Anthony, who's the FRA going to?
Jeremiah vs. Whitaker. I gotta respect that.
Yeah, I'm just saying, man. Oh, shit, dude. That was a crazy fucking submission. Poor Whitaker, man. He was on a good run, too. He was on like a 3-fight winning streak. The dude was like on fire.
Back. It was a shot.
Yeah, and then he just fucking ran into Hamzat Chimaev, who's just a fucking animal. So, yeah, congratulations to Chimaev. And one more round of applause for Chimaev breaking Robert Whitaker's fucking jaw.
Crank.
It was a face crank.
Like...
Oh, you're done now? All right. And guys, the FRA award for me is going to go to that beautiful Darce choke that Islam Makhachev got over Dustin Poirier. I mean, you beat my favorite guy, but I can respect the fact that Islam went that deep into a fight against a motivated as fuck Dustin Poirier and found a way to not only win the fight, but finish it in the last round. So the FRA for me is going to go to Makhachev's Darce choke over Dustin Poirier.
Shine bright like a diamond.
So shine bright tonight. All right, congratulations.
On our road trip list, it's literally like the first song there.
Well,
for our trip to New Jersey.
Well, can you blame us? Yeah, it was like we were like really rallying behind Dustin for that one. I mean, he was everything in the book said that he shouldn't have won, but then the fact that he went out there and had the performance that he did,
dude, that submission defense he had,
dude,
that was fucking crazy.
The submission defense, Islam's on your back, you're just like this, just hanging out there, and the fact that his takedown defense was on some bullshit too. It just didn't come from the ankle pick, unfortunately, but still. And a fight that went that deep into the midway through the 5th round, and it was looking pretty good for Dustin going into that 5th round. Like the first half of the 5th round was looking excellent for Dustin Poirier, but then Islam Makhachev fucking found a way, and I gotta respect that shit, man. And the fact that he was able to find a victory and a finish, and that hotly contested of a fight that shouldn't have been as hotly contested as it was. That's just worth saying. So that was always going to be my submission of the year. I mean, Dracus Duplessis and Adesanya, that's a very big runner-up, and I think that's actually what ESPN MMA gave for submission of the year, which, I mean, that's valid. I mean, it's the first time Israel Adesanya has been submitted in his entire career. And
that's like that. With age, openings happen.
And then... and also, Dracus Duplessis, it was a very similar situation to Islam Makhachev. He was losing the fight pretty solidly to Israel Adesanya. I think I had it up 3 rounds to 1 going into that 4th round when he got finished. So, yeah, I think I had the fight either 2 rounds to 2 or 3 rounds to 1 going into that. So, although, a very similar scenario, but the Makhachev and Poirier fight, man. Just the fact that Makhachev was able to dig that deep and find a finish that far into a fight, that is just worth mentioning. So yeah, one last round of applause. Our winners are Islam Makhachev and Hamzat Chimaev. We gave it to the Daggies. All right, last but certainly not least, guys.
We need to wrestle with bears more.
Yeah, Americans, stop wrestling in high school and start wrestling with bears when you're 7. Out in the woods. Be like Habib. Anyway, fight of the year, guys. This one's a pretty deep fucking one, too. I have a lot of nominees because there were a lot of good fights this year. I mean, the finishes might not have always been there because of the new gloves, but there were still some really good fucking fights that happened. So, here we go. I mean, here come the nominees. Right off the rip, at UFC 297, Dracus Duplessis and Sean Strickland gave us a fight of the year contender. Right there in the main event. Hotly contested. So that's our first nominee. Strickland and Duplessis. Strickland going into his first title defense after shockingly beating Israel Adesanya in September of 2023, defending against the rightful number one contender Dricus Duplessis, going tooth and nail with the motherfucker, and then ultimately losing the razor close decision. But it was a fucking war. I loved every second of that fight watching it. It was like watching a chess match between two of the best, like two guys in their prime, just fucking going at it. It was great.
I like how you said chess match when I still haven't taught you how to play chess.
Yeah, I know how the pieces move. I just don't know strategy. Anyway.
Strategies. I think there's like 57 basic strategies. I don't know them all.
hmm
I just know what I like.
Next up on the list, next nominee, Holloway versus Gaethje. Man, I mean, yeah, sure, for 5 rounds, that was just Holloway beating on Justin Gaethje, but it was still an entertaining fight, and obviously the thrilling conclusion of it, with the buzzer beater KO, definitely worth putting on the fight of the year nominations. I have no problem with putting that in two different categories: knockout of the year and fight of the year. Will it win? We don't know. But next up on the list, Poirier and Makachev, man. Poirier and Makachev went to fucking war in New Jersey. And the fact that we were there and witnessed it was fucking insane.
And we got there before the drones.
That's true. We did get there before the drones. So, Poirier and Makachev, that's just worth mentioning. That was a war. And a fight that, rightfully, I mean, I'm a big Dustin guy. Islam should have plowed right through Dustin.
It was like 8-2, honestly.
Yeah, like...
like if I had 10 gold coins, I'd put 8 on Islam for that and 2 on
Dustin. Like, in a fight where, on paper, fucking Islam Makhachev should have just rummaged through Dustin Poirier and got him out of there in round one. It was looking like that was what was going to happen at first. But then we saw how much Dustin was working on his defense. So, I figured that, but that was just a war, man. Entertaining fight through the whole 25 minutes. Just, obviously, not the result we wanted, but one hell of a fight.
Dude, if I see Dustin coming out with a fighter in the future, like how we saw Charles come out,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be like, holy shit, that dude's defense is gonna be crazy.
I mean, dude, I could tell Poirier was grinding for that shit, dude. He was training hard. I could tell. I mean, it was his last shot. So, I mean, it's like this or nothing, man. And I have to go up against the pound for pound number one guy in the world. And then he went into a fucking war with him at 35. Like, it's just crazy. That was a great fight. Just sucks, obviously, the ending, but doesn't matter. Excellent fight. Next up, Pantoja and Urseg. Let's not forget how much of a fucking... And that fight had no business being as good as it was. Nobody was hyped for that fight. Literally nobody was. I had to look at statistics to generate hype for that fight. And when I have to do that, that usually means there's something wrong. So, but the fact that they went out there and they just went tooth and nail with each other, tied 2 rounds to 2 going into that fifth, and then Ursig just making that big mistake. I mean, if he didn't make that mistake, man, just kept using the jab, Ursig's your champion. But anyway, figure that's worth mentioning. That was a fucking war as well. Great fight. Excellent fight. Next up, Pereira versus Roundtree Jr. at UFC 307. Guys, that fight was crazy. Khalil Roundtree was bringing Pereira to the limit. I mean, obviously, he knocked him down at one point in that fight, but Pereira just turned it up in that round 4. Just fucking went ultra instinct. Dude was slipping, dodging, fucking landed punches at will. He just went into the fucking zone to defend that belt. But god damn it, that was a good fight though at 307, and it was like an unlikely banger as well. A lot of these fights, fight of the year people that I have on here were like unlikely bangers. So like this fight was insane. I didn't think Roundtree was gonna be that competitive with.
We're gonna bring that to the table.
Yeah, I didn't think he was gonna bring that to the table. Like Roundtree's always game as hell, but I didn't know he was gonna be that fucking game. He almost beat the dude. But yeah, it was a good fight though. And then Pereira digging deep at the end, finding a way to win, was just excellent to see. Next up, Oliveira versus Chandler too, man. That was just a fun fight. That was just fun to watch. And this Charles Oliveira, man, I saw this Charles Oliveira imprison and stop the explosive movement of Michael Chandler. And he did it with ease. I mean, obviously, it was a fucking mauling of Michael Chandler. And the fact that Chandler was the wrestler and he was getting out-wrestled by the jiu-jitsu guy was insane. And obviously, we know the ending. just Chandler saying, fuck it, I know I lost. Let me just start doing some fun shit. Standing up, jumping, slamming him back down.
Hey, didn't we have slam knockouts this year too?
Huh?
Didn't we have some slam knockouts earlier this year too?
Yeah, we did. Had a couple of slam knockouts. I don't remember who they are. I mean, most recent one being Bryce Mitchell. I mean, he got a slam knockout in his fight at 310.
I'm trying to think of unusual things I've seen recently. Definitely the slam knockouts are one.
Yeah, and then so definitely though Oliver and then Chandler just at the end just being Michael Chandler, like that was just fun to watch. It was a good fight, and god damn it, Charles Oliveira showed us he's still fucking here. You know, yeah, I might have lost to Armin in like every department, but doesn't matter. I can still beat on Chandler, and then he beat on Chandler not once but twice. So Oliveira Chandler too, definitely a nomination for me. Next up, a Poirier and Benoit Saint Denis. That was a good fucking fight. I mean, it was the night of the Gilly, but like night of the Gilly, but it was still a fun fight. I mean, Benoit Saint Denis didn't take Dustin down once. Dustin took himself down, which stupid on Dustin's part, but whatever. Bro wanted the Gilly, so
Don't be silly.
hop the Gilly. But yeah, no. So Poirier, Benoit Saint Denis, that was just a fucking beautiful train wreck. And then obviously Poirier coming through round two, knocking the dude out after considerably getting 10-8'd in round one by Benoit. I was like, oh boy, this isn't looking good for Dustin. And then he comes back in the second round, just fucking sleeps the guy, sends him flying with that right hook. That was just beautiful. So great fight. Also, this is one that I think doesn't get enough attention. Hooker and Gamrot at UFC 305. Israel Adesanya and Drake Duplessis. Like the co-main event. I think it was the co-main event. That was a fucking crazy fight. Like they went tooth and nail. Dan Hooker was showing that he was that motherfucker. He said,
Dan Hooker."
He's sitting there in the corner laughing, saying, "I love this shit." I'm like, this dude has lost his mind. He's like covered in tattoos now. Dude had like no tattoos before. And last year, fucking, I almost gave my fight of the year to Hooker and Jalen Turner. That fight that happened last year, I ultimately gave it to Pantoja and Moreno last year. That was just a fucking crazy fight. But this one though, Hooker just continues to give bangers after bangers, and he made his way back into the top five after losing considerably for a little while. Like I was starting to think Dan Hooker was fucking done. I was starting to think like, oh man, this dude's best career highlight's gonna be the fact that he went tooth and nail with Dustin Poirier and then just kept losing after that. But like, I didn't want that to happen because I like Dan Hooker, you know. So, but then he went and had a fucking war with Mateusz Gamrot. It was a fucking excellent fight. I mean, Gamrot had his moments in the fight, but Hooker had more moments, and yep. So I figured that was worth mentioning. Also, Weili Zhang and Yan Xiaonan at UFC 300. Guys, that was a fucking war. And it was an unexpected war as well. I thought Weili Zhang was just gonna fucking kill this girl. Nope. The other Chinese woman said, "I'm also a Chinese person that can absolutely fight you." And they went out there and they had a banger. And also, last but certainly not least, Drake Duplessis versus Adesanya. That was a great fight. And 2 Fight of the Year nominations from Drake Duplessis this year. So Drake is doing some good things. But Anthony, who's your Fight of the Year going to?
There's a lot of good choices.
I know. Why do you think I couldn't decide on just a couple and put so many in this goddamn category?
Ugh. Tony Ferguson didn't make the cut.
No. That dude just kept losing.
Most needed to retire MMA fighter.
Most needed to retire MMA fighter Tony Ferguson. Yeah, a lot of good choices on here. A lot of good ones.
I think I'm gonna have to go with Gamrot.
Gamrot and Hooker?
Gamrot Hooker.
That's why I mentioned it. That fight was a fucking banger. And I mean, that was an excellent fight. That's why I wanted it, because I'm like, I even was personally forgot about that fight. But then when I saw it, like I was looking through the catalog of all the UFC events this year, and I was looking at it, I'm like, Hooker and Gamrot, that was a fucking crazy fight. I'm like, hang on, I gotta add that shit. So Hooker and Gamrot, they did a great job. That was a wonderful fight. But guys, my fight of the year is going to Oliveira and Chandler too. That was a fucking. I don't think I've been as invested in a fight than I was for Oliveira, Chandler 2, and Poirier and Makachev. Those are my 1 and 2 this year. Obviously, Dracus Duplessis and Sean Strickland were holding my bias for most of the year, so they get the bronze medal. But I gotta say, Oliveira and Chandler 2, that was just a fun fight to
I think
watch,
you're
man.
just really, really glad that
Yeah.
Chandler was in the fucking octagon.
Yeah, I was just happy that Chandler fucking moved on. I was like, thank God you moved on from McGregor. Holy shit.
Called him out afterwards.
Yeah, and then he just got fucking beat on by Charles Oliveira. Didn't matter though.
Then he called out fucking Greggy afterwards.
I'm like, God damn it.
He's like, well, I mean, we know who's the number one, but where are you?
Yeah, so Oliveira Chandler 2 gets my fight of the year. And I was tough. I had to sleep on this one. It was either that or Poirier and Makachev were gonna win it from me this year. So, but I went with Oliveira and Chandler.
Not fucking June's fucking Gregor versus fucking Chandler.
Yeah, I mean that would have
was
been a great fight.
confirmed, that we bought at the time when it was headlining.
McGregor and Chandler, it was on the headline. Like, we bought it, and then dude fucking pulls out of the fight. That was so upsetting. But yeah, that's the FRA awards, MMA awards for UFC this year. Just to review the winners, both Anthony and I gave the male fighter of the year to Ilya Taporia. Thank you for breaking our hearts, Ilya.
I'm gonna thank him for it.
And next, our female fighter of the year was Weili Zhang. Anthony's breakout fight of the year was Verna Jandiroba. My breakout fighter of the year was Diego Lopez. Both Anthony and I agreed on this one, man. Knockout of the year went to fucking Max Holloway over Justin Gaethje. And then our submission of the year, Anthony's submission of the year, goes to Khamzat Chimaev over Robert Whittaker. And my submission of the year is going to Islam Makhachev over Dustin Poirier. Fight of the year from Anthony was Dan Hooker versus Mateusz Gamrot. And my fight of the year went to Chandler and Oliveira too. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And before we let you guys go, there are a couple of events that have been confirmed already for 2025.
And all of you guys who stuck around, let us know what your thoughts are, and if we might have missed anyone that you think should have been awarded, or at least honorably mentioned in our awards.
Or nominated. So, yeah, let us know about that shit, but that concludes the FRA awards. And now, I'm just going to go over what's been confirmed for 2025. UFC is going to come back on Saturday, January 11th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the main card. And your main event will be Mackenzie Dern versus Amanda Ribas. And then we also have Chris Curtis versus Roman Kopylov on the card. Cesar Almeida versus Abdul Razak Al Hassan. And we also have Santiago Ponzinibbio on the card. And Thiago Moises. Our first pay-per-view of the year. We're going to fucking peak at UFC 311, bro. Makhachev and Sarukian 2 has been confirmed as the main event. Islam Makhachev going in for his... Oh, fuck. What number title defense is this? So let's see. He beats Oliveira, gets the belt. Beats Volk twice. He beats Poirier. So this is going into his 5th title defense. So, yep. And he will go, and against surging contender that's just been making all the waves lately in Arman Sarukian. These two have fought before, back in 2018-ish. Islam Makhachev did come out victorious, but it was a very close fight. But then again, that was 6 years ago. So, they're both completely different fighters now. I'm excited to see what happens between the two of them. This one should be a great fight. Also, we have Bantamweight title on the line. Our newly minted Bantamweight champion, Murad Dvalishvili, is going to be going against Umar Nurmagomedov. Man, Khabib's going to be one busy guy that night. So...
You can just stay out.
Yeah.
I'm right here.
I am right here, brother. I stay here. Islam gonna be here in 2 seconds. We also have Benil Dariush coming back after getting fucking slept by Arman Sarukian last September. He's gonna be facing Renato Moicano on the card. We also have Yuri Prohaska and Jamal Hill. We also have Kevin Holland versus Rainer de Ritter, and it's going to be one hell of a card. Also on the card, Johnny Walker's back on the prelims. So is Peyton Talbot and Jailton Almeida. And on the early prelims, we have Island Perez as well as Tagir Ulanbekov. Oh, Jesus. Tagir Ulanbekov's fighting. I didn't even know that. Khabib's going to have 3 people to coach that night. Tagir Ulanbekov trains with Khabib. And obviously, Umar Nurmagomedov is his cousin. And obviously, his brother-in-arms, Islam Makhachev. So, that's UFC 311. That's been confirmed. Your next event.
I feel like Sterling's being fed here, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
That's kind of depressing.
Yes, a little bit. Next up, though, we have Israel Adesanya on a fight night. Israel Adesanya is going to be going against Nazardine Imavov on a fight night, which that's going to be a fight.
What's his ranking?
Nazardine,
Yeah.
number 5. Israel's number 2. And Imavov is, like, allergic to losing lately. He's just been, I mean, he lost once to Sean Strickland, but that was, like, 2 years ago. So, like, he hasn't lost a lot. Also on that card will be Shara Bullet Magomedov versus Michael Venom Page on a fight night.
MVP?
And Shara Bullet. I don't know how that fight's gonna go. I have a strong feeling MVP's gonna get slapped.
Yeah, that's a bullet train. That's what that is.
Yep, so those are 2 fights that have been confirmed for UFC in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. One hell of a main event and one hell of a co-main event. And that's only the 3rd event.
Did you say UFC returns?
UFC returns January 11th.
11th. So Raw's gonna happen before that, huh?
Yep. I'm gonna make a big deal out of Raw on Netflix, though. Everybody's coming over for that shit. So.
I figured as much. I'm like, shit, we're gonna probably have 2 podcasts for that.
And UFC 312 has been confirmed already. February's pay-per-view already booked, and it's Dracus du Plessis defending his middleweight title, 2nd title defense versus Sean Strickland. Fight of the Year contender last year. Obviously, it got nominated this year. We get to see it again, and we'll see how this fight goes. And hopefully, there's no questions asked after this fight, so we can finally put this rivalry to bed. Because I think they're hogging middleweight, those 2. So I think they holding up the division. So hopefully, there are no questions asked after this match. Somebody gets finished. Either Dracus du Plessis getting finished or Sean Strickland getting finished. Either one, I'm gonna probably root for Strickland, just because. I mean, I might not love all of his interviews, but Sean Strickland's a good fighter, so I'm probably gonna be rooting more on the Strickland side for this one. But du Plessis growing on me a little bit. I'll be honest.
He hasn't grown on me much, so I'm gonna vote against him.
Yeah, so he's growing on me a little bit. So if Dracus does end up losing, if he goes and has a war with him again, I'll be happy. You know. Also on the card, Weili Zhang defends her strawweight title against Tatiana Suarez, undefeated contender at strawweight.
How many matches in UFC?
How many matches in UFC? Let me check right now.
Yeah, because when they say like undefeated or something, as far as UFC goes, it could just be 1 in.
Oh no, she's been around. Oh yeah, she's been around. She's been around since 2019. So yeah, she's doing good. So Weili Zhang's back. Tatiana Suarez up to bat. And hopefully, if Weili Zhang gets through this, we can get one step closer to booking my fucking dream match, okay, between Weili Zhang and Valentina Shevchenko.
I know you didn't, but I feel like you said one step closer to Lincoln Park.
Nah.
I know you didn't. I just.
Oh nah, that was completely unintentional. Let's see. Anybody else that's worth mentioning on this one? Not so far. That fight card still has to get filled out a little bit. I saw a lot of the prelims on there, not a whole lot of the main card fights. So those are our co-main and main event for that card. Should be a good one, UFC 312. Also,
where's that fight at?
It's going to be in Sydney, Australia. Another event that's been confirmed. UFC Fight Night main event on Saturday, February 15th between Jared Cannonier and Gregory RoboCop Rodriguez. That should be a good fight. I'm going to say Rodriguez for now. But we'll see. Cannonier can always surprise me. Also, Jared Gordon on the card, who is best known for getting robbed against Paddy Pimblett. So, also, what has been confirmed, that's about all that's been confirmed. So, looking forward to UFC in 2025, 2024 in the books.
What's Logan and Greggy supposed to be on?
I don't know. That fight is still very early in its makings. Like, Connor just tweeted about it like 3 days ago. So, it's still very early on in the making. But yeah, UFC in 2024 was excellent. UFC in 2025, at least the first couple of events, is looking pretty fucking solid, man.
Was it excellent? We saw Volk get knocked out. We saw Dustin lose.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like, it's just nature of time, you know? But, 2024 gave us some moments. It's been rough this year for the
It's been
fan
tough
favorites.
seeing the old guard go.
But, it's just the nature of time, you know? But, yeah, looking forward to see what's next for the UFC in
Side note, though,
2025.
you're going to be very interested in the Cup Swanson fight.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
I'll have to.
But we will talk to you guys next time.
Later.